All right, first up we have our showrunner and our executive producer, Dee Harris Lawrence. Please join us on stage. Right behind her, we have the remarkable, I think, star of the show, Akili McDowell. You're right there. Right behind him is the very sexy Travis Coles. Please join us on stage. And for the second time today, I can't believe I get to say this, please welcome to the stage the legendary Phylicia Rashad. Thank you all so much for being here, first of all. And I want to ask, this may not be the most obvious first question, Dee, but I was so struck by the visuals of this show and that it carries forward the moment when they are sitting on the bench and you do that long pull focus, the writing over their head, the water over his bed. And I'm curious where those inspirations come from to really make something that looks just so striking.
3 words, Tarell Alvin McCraney.
Oh, I'm not sure you're on. Are you on?
Oh, am I not? Oh, do I do on?
There you go.
There you go. 3 words, Tarell Alvin McCraney. He writes in such a visual way, and his imagination and how he depicts these scenes. I mean, the big thing was trying to bring it to light, what was on paper, to screen. And hopefully, we did do that through the director giving us a visual language to play with, which was a major component to what we were trying to do. So we're excited about. And everything afterwards, what we do. I kept saying, if we pull this off, woo! But it's been great to basically meld all those different things together.
Well, let me be a party of one, at the very least, to say you pulled it off. And talk a little bit about the genesis. And for those of you who don't know, Tarell Alvin McCraney, who wrote Moonlight, that's something that you might be familiar with, is the creator of this show. And how did this come to you and come to be?
Basically, I guess Tarell had written he pitched it, went around town. He ended up at OWN, and as Oprah has said, it's one of the best pitches she ever heard. He ended up writing the script. They were looking for a showrunner since Tarell had not basically run a show before, and basically a partner. And when I ended up reading the script, I literally had to sit there for a few minutes and then read it again because of just everything that was popping off the page. It was pretty amazing to read. And so when I went in to meet with him and the 2 other producers, Mike and Melissa, he just kind of like started talking. And one of the first things I said to him was, I am David. Right. It's like, I am the female version of David. Walking around in the neighborhoods, using my imagination, trying to get through. And I said, just imagine being a female going through all of that. Yeah. When at that same age, you have different eyes on you. So we immediately understood, each other understood where he was coming from, and was, because I know there's a lot of people that are vying for this position to partner with you, and just kind of like laid everything out of the way I wanted to see it, because I wanted to bring his vision to this in such a major way of keeping it all together and having everything on those pages come to light. So.
And it's one of the really interesting things about the show. I want to ask all of you about this because I think it's something that all of us up here probably have some experience with, which is navigation. Navigating through the world, your home life, your school life, your on-the-block life, that you are sometimes a different person to different people. You are something different to Miss Woodstrap than you are to Miss Elijah, than you are to your mother. And I think the show does such a skillful job of showing that without talking about it. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious how you all felt in reading the script and seeing that something that we sometimes call code switching, mm-hmm. that you are very much yes ma'am to Miss Dr. Woodstrap, but you are a different way with your friends. And I'm curious if that was something that struck you in the script at all.
It was, because you really don't notice that you do this in your everyday life. Mm-hmm. It just comes like naturally. Now David does it, it's like he's almost like a chameleon. He can adapt to certain situations and really just excel in any situation he's put in.
And certainly your character has made a choice, Travis, that some of that isn't available to you because of the choice that your character has made. And is that something that informs that character, that you have staked a claim about what that identity is?
So Miss Elijah is gender non-conforming, goes by he and she pronouns, and I think that there is a survival in this way of being a chameleon, but then there's also a respect that comes from living authentically and saying, well, there's no hiding who I am, which puts me at a level of superiority because I know who I am, and I'm going to show you. What are you going to do? You know, what are you doing? And so there is that. And I will say that personally, with reading the script, as far as being a chameleon, I absolutely related to David in that way. Like, I come from the background of an Air Force, so like I moved around so much, and it was survival. You know, like, who am I here? Who am I there? And knowing that it existed everywhere else and that other people were doing it, I was just like, really? Like, oh man, great, you know, like not feeling alone. So I had that experience that Dee did where it's just like, that is me.
And even for Dr. Woods Trapp, that even though we only see her in this context, I'm imagining that she has that experience in her life as well, that she may be one thing as a teacher, but she is a different thing in her private life.
I think that's something I have to work out for myself as an actor and have been doing, because there isn't that in the script which gives us that. What I can say about her is she is partially aware of his life, not totally. But what really intrigues her, what really excites her, what she really gravitates towards is his intellect. This thing don't want to stay on, child. I don't know what's wrong. She sees him. She sees him apart from circumstances. She sees him, and she'd like to see him through.
Whether he wants her to or not. There's a great line in one of the later episodes where you're like, is that a request for help? I was going to do that anyway. And that's who she is. But we've all had that teacher, and I'm curious if you remember, Phylicia, who that teacher was for you. Did you have that person in your life?
Oh, my goodness, yeah. I was really fortunate. I had a few teachers like that. But yes, I've known teachers like that. I've known teachers who as a student in high school, I had teachers who could have been teaching on a college level, but they chose to teach in the public schools because they knew that there were people, young people, who were not necessarily going to make it through without the help that they had to give.
Absolutely. And I feel like we've all had teachers like that, right? Like, let's give it up for teachers for a minute, because they were so important for us. Now, I want to talk, Dee, to you about how you found this remarkable gentleman to your left.
Akili McDowell.
Woo, right?
Thank you. I don't think you guys are. This boy, he's 16 now. He
Can you
was
believe that?
15 years old when we shot this. Tarell and I, with the help of the remarkable Carmen Cuba, who also was the casting director for Stranger Things. When I tell you how many tapes we looked through, so many, and then we narrowed it down to go to different cities. We went to Atlanta and New York. And LA, and we had our finalists, who were closer to those different types. We had tapes from the UK. Yeah. So we were really serious about, really finding the right people. And when we kind of narrowed it down, we brought a few young actors to LA to test. And basically, there's the last scene that you saw in the pilot where David, basically rails to the gods, as we say. When you find out about Sky, it was one of the last things that Akili did. And he kind of was like sitting there, and he was playing against Isaiah, who plays Sky. And I think both Tarell and I felt it, but didn't say anything to each other. And then finally Tarell got up and told Akili to stand up. he goes, I feel like you want to stand up. And he was like, yes, he needs to stand up. And basically and it was just kind of like, just let go, just, do it the way you would do it. And this boy did that scene and got to the point where Tarell it grabbed him. And I don't know, I was telling him, I don't know if he remembers. And it was like, kind of went somewhere else. And I remember looking at him, I'm like, that's David. Now I see you. He has not had a lot of experience. What he has is instinct. And it's amazing. You cannot teach instinct. And he is he listens with the actors. It is amazing. Throughout the process of this show, we take you to places. You guys are not ready for the show. It's so many different places. And he was with us. When I tell you he shot pretty much 98%, of the show and was a trooper and went through all the different emotions. It was fantastic as a writer-producer to go through that journey with him. And when I saw him, I was like, look at you, my baby, all grown up.
And Akili, I understand that you had a very specific inspiration where you were like, one day you saw something, you were like, I can do that.
Yes, ma'am. I was around 9. I was watching That's a Raven with me and my family. Yeah. And like her brother, the way he was like goofy and just like the way he played that character was like amazing because I could see myself in his character. So that really inspired me to start acting.
And so when you got the call for this, what was your reaction that this was happening? Or maybe you were told in the room.
No, I actually went back to Houston. At first I didn't think I got it. So I was kind of down, and then when I found out I did, I was like shocked at first. Then I was just ready to work.
That's an
He
excellent
was
attitude.
very serious. Like he was ready. He was ready.
And for Travis and Akili, and I'm sorry to do this to Phylicia, but I have to. When you found out that she was going to be on the show, what was like? How excited were you?
I was like,
That was just like
you can't really put it in words because like she's everybody's mom, you know.
Exactly.
That is so true. It was the same way, and I remember I sat next to her during the table read, and I was like, "You're fine. Everything's fine." I wasn't fine. But I will tell you,
what was the inner monologue? Like, what were
the
you
inner
actually
monologue
saying?
was, well, first of all, at first I was just like, I can't believe this is happening. I'm so excited that I'm even here. I cannot believe I get to do this. I'm so excited. And then you just have so much grace and so humble and so open, and it was incredible. And you put me at ease, and then I'm still just like, okay, everything's fine. And then Oprah came up, and I was like, we're gone. I was like, this isn't, I don't know who this is. Because I did not expect this.
Right.
And it was just so wonderful. It was a wonderful
Yeah,
experience.
I have seen good, and you are not him. But let's talk about the Oprah of it all for a minute, and the Michael B. Jordan of it all as well. I mean, these are people that I'm presuming you don't want to disappoint. But how sort of hands-on are they in the process? Do they give you notes? Or are they sort of just like, we love this and we want to bring it to the world?
No, they actually are hands-on, and they're very serious about as far as producers. I mean, Michael B. Jordan went on the pitches with Tarell to like HBO. I think they went to Netflix. They went all over the place, and they even before that they talked through the story and really connected in a major way over the story about this young black man. Both seeing them, and Michael seeing himself also within David. And once it landed at OWN, and when I tell you as far as, Miss Winfrey, she is very much into like the casting when we like came down to it, and with production, everything, and giving notes. She watches everything, and she will like text and say what she loves, and when she gets emotional, we had the most incredible table read. They all brought everything. They were off book, and off book means where they're not reading script. And we had we were in Orlando, and everyone else was in LA, and we did everything with the screens. And Miss Winfrey was even like somewhere else, and she sat there and got emotional. Was basically told a story and I'm going to mess it up, but basically it came down to legacy, and how important she thought going forward this story was going to be, and how people in these neighborhoods deal with trauma in so many different ways. So it was like, once we had that blessing, we was like, let's go to work, y'all. So.
Right, it is important, and it's interesting that you say that you see yourself. There were parts of me that I saw, and I feel like even though this is a very specific experience, that perhaps all of you have something that you can relate to, not just to your own character, but to the David character as well. That may not be your experience, that trauma may not be your experience, but that sort of coming of age in a difficult time might be something that all of you can relate to, even if it isn't. Travis, Ms. Rashad.
Well, that's not my story at all. But the thing about a good story, and a good story that is told well, a good story that is told well resonates with the listener or the viewer. It doesn't have to be my story for me to feel something, for me to understand it, for me to want to know more. It just needs to be a good story and told well. Yes, as a teenager, I didn't have that kind of trauma, but there was some coming of age stuff, and very unlike this, you know, where I felt lonely and isolated, and because I was in a foreign country in core curriculum classes that were being taught in Spanish and not in English, and I didn't speak Spanish. Having been a straight A student, I couldn't even relate to what was happening, and I began to feel stupid. That's pretty traumatic for a 13-year-old girl who thinks she's ugly anyway. It's true, you know. And not being able to say it to anybody.
It's certainly not in Spanish, at least.
Or English. You just couldn't tell it to anybody. I mean, what are you going to say? So when I watch this, he's alone. Even with people all around him. He's alone. I understand that.
And I feel like that is the core thing that most people understand, even when it is not your story. That is the thing that you can get in touch with. Before, we only have a few minutes left, so I want to make sure if anybody in the audience has a question that they get a chance to ask it. Don't be shy. Stand up, wave your hand, and smile. Right there.
It's for everybody, but for Rashad. Thank you. This is such a beautifully nuanced Black story, and I think anybody can answer, but I'd love to hear specifically from Ms. Rashad. We haven't seen a lot of specific and detailed Black stories like this that cover a range of topics, and so what was it like to be able to work on something like this and touch on very little minute aspects of the Black experience to such a large audience for something like a TV show, if that makes any sense? I don't know if I'm being clear.
It was incredible to me that somebody was brave enough and audacious enough to take it and say yes. I expect this kind of writing from Tarell Alvin McCraney. I don't expect anything else. Oftentimes when you take something that is so real and you're talking to intelligent people who are sitting on the other side of the desk, they don't get it. Or they don't want to get it. Or they can't get it. So to have producers and network officials say, not only do we get it, we want it.
And they want to tell it like this.
And they want to tell it like this.
Exactly.
And the whole time I was reading the script, and even on set, I kept thinking, wow, this has not been seen. This has not been seen, not like this, not like this.
And just to follow up on that, actually, because there is so much going on. There is a lot. We've got poverty. We've got LGBTQ issues. We've got colorism, which is something that we really don't talk enough about. I mean, we talk about it, but we don't talk about it.
Talk about it outside.
But I mean, there is a lot of that, the stuff that we talk about that we, in the macro don't talk about. And I'm curious, obviously on Own this wasn't an issue, but as a creator and as a writer and as a director, how much do you feel any sort of balancing that you need to do? Like, for me, one of the great things about creating Creed 2 was how unapologetically Black it was. And that this show is too. And is there ever that creeping voice in the back of your head, like, maybe this is too Black?
Right. No, that's funny you said that, because that was our major going thing. It was like, even in the writer's room, it's like, we are going to be unapologetically Black. But guess what? All of our themes are universal. So everybody can relate to what's going on. And, with, the poverty and bleakness of it all, there is fun, there is the coming of age, different things where you like laugh out loud. It is about living. That's what these people are doing, trying to do is live. And being unapologetically Black just happened to lend itself to being humans, as Phylicia Rashad always says, so.
Yeah, amen to that. And we have run out of time, I'm being told. So thank you all so much for being here, and thank you all so much for being here. Good luck with the show. Own
Thank you.
mid-August. Check it out, y'all. Thank you.